I think Frontier have spent a little bit of time on the forums and the Reddit threads whilst developing Jurassic World Evolution 3 because they just revealed another long-standing fan request. Psittacosaurus. This little guy is actually our second new ceratopsian alongside the recently revealed Lokiceratops. It's an early Cretaceous Asian herbivore. Psittacosaurus is intelligent, it's sociable, happily live with other dinosaurs as we'll see, and it's very well understood because we have found literally hundreds of specimens for this little guy. And it has, like with all the new species, been brought to life beautifully here by Frontier. From the huge parrot-like beak useful for slicing through tough plant material, to the peculiar telltale jutting out of the cheekbone, to the filaments that extend out from the lower tail. Everything that makes a Psittacosaurus is here and accounted for. Hell, even the patterning and the default colouring seems very inspired by this work by Nichols et al., which uses actual skin preservations to determine the colour and counter shading of a Psittacosaurus specimen. It's certainly a well-researched dinosaur that does the important bit of preserving the notable features of the genera. But I've seen a little bit of criticism in the past few weeks about these dinosaurs not feeling Jurassic enough, so I do want to point out a couple of little things here that have been done to make the dinosaur just fit a little bit better into the franchise. First of all, it's been made a little bit cuter than most other renditions. It's got a larger, more appealing eye shape, and the skull has been smoothed out a little bit. I'm not saying this is better or worse, but if we compare this to the Prehistoric Kingdom version of Psittacosaurus, I think you can see quite a noticeable difference, even if the basal morphology is essentially the same. The hands and feet as well have little, very Jurassic looking design elements. We've got this ridged lining and these thick lines just above the fingers and toes, and that is a very classic Jurassic design nod. Other than that, it just looks like the dinosaur. What do people expect, The patterning is superb too, and once again, no splotches. I am being so spoiled. This is actually some of the very best pattern work Frontier has done in my opinion. It's so naturalistic looking, so varied. This blue, purple and yellow one in particular, with the yellow striping making it onto those tail filaments. It's absolutely beautiful. Just look how many different shapes and forms this pattern takes as it swills across the body. Really, really good stuff. The sound effects alternate between cute little chirps and squeaks you'd expect for such a small animal into these throaty, quiet growls. Very appropriate as well. And they are constantly making noise as they rummage around, and that's been carried through to the animation work as well. It's full of life and snappy movements, appropriate for a small prey dinosaur. Their root digging animation shows them bombarding the earth with that large beak to search out hidden growth to eat. Again, those snappy, sharp movements, but it's the way the momentum of the entire body shifts to accommodate the movement that's really impressive. With this threatening call animation, you can see the foot position shift several times to steady the body appropriately, and the head kind of constantly twitching towards the end in this little scanning motion. But of course, everybody needs to relax sometimes, and the adorable juvenile to parent animation showcases that as well. The juvenile nudging its head very warmly though, up against its resting parent. I like this approach they've taken in that nearly every single animal seems to have this kind of resting parent, annoying child animation, one that's going to be very familiar to a lot of people, I'm sure. Speaking of which, the juveniles have a few tweaks compared to the parents, showcased really nicely in this shot in particular. The head is rounder, it's a little bit more oblong with a less of that telltale squared off shape that the Psittacosaurus has. It has larger eyes relatively speaking, a smaller beak, and the tail filaments have been shrunken down as well. That kind of extends the same way across the sexual dimorphism, which appears to be pretty low key. I think we're seeing a sexually dimorphic pair here, with assumedly the male on the left and the female on the right. The male looks generally larger, the filaments on the tail are longer and they're visibly more curved over due to that increased length. The skull spike is more prominent and the head in general seems a little bit larger as well. It's noticeable, but it's subtle, which tracks because sexual dimorphism isn't really prominent at all in Psittacosaurus specimens, despite the huge abundance of fossil data. In reality, sexual dimorphism between dinosaurs is very, very subtle, and probably largely contained to display features that don't necessarily stay over time. In terms of basal morphology, in terms of on a skeletal level, there's often very little difference between the sexes. Of course, as the title says, Psittacosaurus is not the only dinosaur in this video. During this scene, we can see them hanging out with a pair of ankylosaurs, the juvenile looking absolutely adorable again, really showcasing the size difference between the two genera here, with the juvenile being substantially larger than the adult Psittacosaurus nearby. But the bigger news is the background reveal of Dreadnoughtus returning to the game. Now, always very likely, of course, it is a film canon dinosaur. I think they'll all return, but it is good to have yet another dinosaur checked off the list. It is once again in its movie body morph like the other dinosaurs we've seen so far, and I am now a tiny bit worried that some of the others, Giganotosaurus in particular, will only have their movie form going forward. Because of course, if you have the Frontier Dreadnoughtus and you have the movie Dreadnoughtus, then you kind of also need two different juvenile models, and the same goes for all of the others, and that's a lot more work. If I had to guess, and this is only speculative, I would suggest that's probably going to be the case. I will only have the movie iterations. It's not a big loss when it comes to the Dreadnoughtus, if we're honest, but it would be a shame for the likes of the Giganotosaurus, for the Allosaurus, etc. We'll have to wait and see, but the signs, in my opinion, are definitely pointing in that direction. All of that, and we haven't even talked about the landscape, which I believe is our very first look at the dry redstone environment of the probably Nevada map. We don't get a great look at it here thanks to the small size of the Psittacosaurus, but we can see a lot of tall, tough-leaved trees in the background, very high cliff ranges full of jutting red rock, and lots of hardy shrubbery and flower life on the ground level. We've got a tumbleweed plant jutting out from the ground, and a group of barrel cacti on the left hand side in this shot. Now, I personally often struggle with the more arid maps because I really dislike flat open terrain without rocks or foliage, but it looks like our desert plant buckets are going to come with a pretty sizable variety of plant life despite the inherent limitations. That's showcased perfectly in this wider open shot, which honestly scarcely looks like Jurassic World Evolution given how naturalistic the environment is. We've got a variety of living and dead shrubbery, we've got some greener plants surrounding the water source in this little oasis, but we've also got these huge seeding sago palms on the floor and these flowering yuccas both providing a pop of colour in the arid landscape. There's also a bunch of dead, somewhat broken logs and trees spotted throughout the video. All in all, as per usual, another beautiful new fan favourite dinosaur, heavily requested dinosaur, has been added to the game. Psittaco looks exactly how I imagine a Jurassic Psittaco should look, and there's once again a lot of care and love in the details of his design, sound work and animations. What I am now getting more and more curious about though is a new carnivore. We haven't really seen one come to life other than the pre-order Guanlong, which was just a static image. There's been a big herbivore focus lately, but I'd really like to see a large theropod in particular rendered in this continued, more naturalistic style that we've got lately. Though I do appreciate the attention the herbivores are getting, they often don't get the love they should. Also, where are the aquatics? We've still only seen the Mosasaurus, it's crazy. Let me know what you think about the Psittacosaurus, the returning Dreadnoughtus, and the new Arizona map design in the comment section down below. And let me know in particular, what dinosaur do you want to see revealed next? I'm still crossing my fingers for a Platosaurus personally. Thanks for joining me, throw me a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe for the latest in Jurassic World Evolution 3 news and analysis, and I'll see you lovely folks very, very soon. Cheers, much love as always. Bye-bye.
Road.